What is up, everyone? I am Cameron, this is Carsideration, and today we have a 2013 Nissan GTR. So before we get into this video, I just want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Royal RV and Auto here in Middlebury, Indiana. They were gracious enough to let me take this 2013 GTR out and do a review on it and drive it. I wasn't expecting to drive it, but they said, yeah, man, take it out. This will be cool. So huge thank you to them. If you could give them a follow on Instagram, check out their inventory on their website, link down below. Tons of RVs, trucks, cars, all kinds of cool stuff to meet your shopping needs. And still doing the 1,000 subscriber giveaway. So if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Once I hit 1,000 subscribers, go to my Carsideration Instagram page. I'm gonna be giving away GT3 RS OZ wheel, a replica Formula One wheel, and a really cool automotive book on motorsport racing and the history through motorsport. So really cool little giveaway here. You don't have to purchase anything. So just hit subscribe, go to Carsideration Instagram page and hit follow. And right now I only have 89 followers. So your odds are pretty high to win one of these 3 gifts. But with that being said, let's get into this review. We're gonna do a quick stats, exterior walk around, interior review, and then we're gonna go drive Godzilla. So let's get to it. So a few quick stats on this 2013 GTR. All the GTRs have a 3.8 liter twin turbo V6. Now in 2013, they made 545 horsepower and 463 pound-feet of torque. The boost was turned up in 2013 from 11 pounds to 13 pounds, which the previous 2 generations, or I say 2 generations, the previous years were around 11 pounds of boost. So think of the GTR in terms of the R35 as 2 generations. 2009 to 2016 was the Gen 1, 2017 plus was the Gen 2. In 2017, they did a lot of upgrades, especially on the exterior, but from 2009 to 2016, they all pretty much remained the same. A few things here and there changed aesthetically, but nothing significant. Now, this does do 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds. Miles per gallon, not too bad. 16 miles per gallon city, 23 highway. Does have a top speed of 191 miles an hour. Now, this does have the DCT, dual clutch transmission. It's a 6-speed. I guess you can say automatic. Now, MSRP at the time, these were around $98,000 when they first came out. And these are supercar killers. And I have a pretty interesting story, if you don't already know it, that I'll tell you later in the driving review. Now, weight distribution on this, it's 53% front, 47% rear, but Nissan says under full acceleration, that equals perfect 50-50 weight distribution. There's usually I'd say two to three trim levels, especially for this year. 2013, there was really only 2. It was premium and a black edition. Once you get to 2017, I think it was, you had the premium black edition and Nismo. Now, nothing really changes performance-wise throughout those 3 trim levels. It's just as you progress up the pyramid or the ladder of trim levels, it gets more track focused. So with that being said, let's check out this exterior. So funny story. Everyone calls this Godzilla. So how do you think that nickname came about? So apparently the Nissan GTR got its nickname Godzilla from Australia, ironically enough. So in the R32 days, the Nissan GTR was racing in the supercar series and racing, just over in Australia in general. And the GTR, the R32, was destroying the competition, so the Australians gave it the nickname Godzilla. Now, my favorite part of this R35 is definitely going to be this roofline here. It looks so good with the blacked out A-pillar and everything. And one thing, if you do tint your windows, if you own a GTR, I think it gives that impression of a full wraparound windshield, kind of like the Koenigsegg. So in 2012, they did do a redesign in the front fascia and the rear diffuser. The main thing you'll be able to notice is they added LED fog lights down here. Sensor up here at the front fascia, I should say. You do have your active arrow for your brake cooling here. And then coming around to the front, so you have 6-piston Brembos up front, you have 4-piston rear. Now the brake disc here is 2 pieces, so that is optimal. for obviously track use and performance. It is two-piece, so you do have some ventilation in the center between the two pieces to help cool. These are drilled and slotted. Now, if you do talk to anybody that tracks their car seriously, most of the time, from my experience, people go just with a solid disc rotor. Aesthetically, yeah, drilled and slotted looks the best, but as you do track your car and push it to its limits, these are gonna build up an incredible amount of heat. And what can happen, and sometimes happens, is at these drilled and slotted points here, the brake disc will start to crack due to heating and cooling. So most people, in my opinion, in my experience, if they do heavily track their car, they do not do drilled and slotted rotors. And technically, if you want to think about it, every time you drill out a hole, you get less surface area for your brake pads to grab on. Coming around to the rear, of course, same thing. 4-piston back here and 15 inches versus 15.4. I love this wheel design. Obviously, there's a ton of aftermarket wheel options for the GTR, and you can get them to sit exactly like you want. But honestly, from the factory, I mean, gosh dang, Nissan nailed it. The side skirt, everything just flows together wonderfully. And again, like I said, in 2012, this is a 2013. They did do some redesigns here with the rear diffuser. So, and of course, back here, you have your iconic 4 round headlights. And this is the only Nissan badge on this vehicle that I've found so far. Everything else is branded with this awesome GTR logo. Have your rear spoiler here, wing, whichever you want to call it. In 2012, I think this was redesigned as well. So it is fairly large, but it is functional. It looks good. Man, I just love the way this car looks. Coming back up to the front here, another nice, looks like brushed aluminum. I don't know if it's actually aluminum, feels like it. I'm assuming it is, but you do have like some heat extractor here to get that heat out of the engine bay. Another one of my favorite things, these door handles, flush mounted, super cool. And how you open them, you just push here, pull, and there you go, you're on into the interior. So let's get into this interior. So your trunk space, man, this is a daily driver if I've ever seen one. Decent amount of trunk space. Now, the only thing that kind of throws me off and I don't understand is, I just feel like they could have brought the trunk down a little bit more just to give you a little more room to get stuff in. Now, once you get in here, it is quite deep. You definitely can fit some stuff in here. I don't think you're gonna fit golf clubs, but hey, if you can convince the wife or your significant other to let you get a GTR, you can definitely fit some groceries in there. So that's always a plus. So I'm gonna try to crawl in these back seats because technically this does seat 4 people, but I'm a small guy, you know, 5'8" or so. Let's see if I can get back here with some leg room. Probably not. All right. Okay. Well, I'm short, like I said, like 5'8", maybe 5'9", and my head's hitting the glass back here. So let's see if I can close this a little bit. But I do have a little bit of knee room, not much. Maybe about this much, maybe 2 or 3 inches. And that's if this, passenger would be sitting closer. So not super practical. You do have one cup holder back here. I don't know why they didn't put 2 if it can seat 2 back here, but hey, I mean, I've seen worse back seats. Oh God. Yeah, that's a little tight. Maybe not. So in the interior in the GTR, as usual, we're gonna start on the left side, work our way around to the right and back to the center. Everything over here is very soft touch. I'm actually very impressed with it. And one thing I like, I'm a fan of cloth. I don't know why. I mean, not that leather isn't bad, but leather wears out. This is gonna be a high traffic area where you're gonna put things. So I do like that they added cloth in here. Is this interior a little dated? Yes, but it is a 2013. This is to be expected. Now, one cool thing, if you want to adjust your steering wheel, pull this lever down here, but when you move it, your whole dash and gauge cluster moves with it. Kind of cool. So, again, this gauge cluster, it looks good, especially for 2013. Obviously, a little dated here. Steering wheel, it's nice and thick. I'm a fan of Alcantara. I wish in 2013 they could have made some Alcantara, even if it's up here, maybe not right here where you probably grab all the time so it doesn't wear, but steering wheel controls, things like that, volume, your source, all that good stuff. Moving over to the infotainment system. Now, the cool thing about the infotainment system is, if you don't already know, the gentleman that designed Gran Turismo designed this user interface and these graphics and stuff. So it is really cool. You can customize all your views, whatever you want. You have track telemetry, all kinds of different things. Of course, if you're designing Gran Turismo, this is going to be pretty top notch. Again, a little dated, but not too bad. Now coming down here, you do have a lot going on, it looks like, when you just glance at it. But I mean, the easiest way to describe it is everything from here up is going to be your infotainment. Everything from here down is going to be your climate controls and things like that. You have your suspension settings, your traction control, and things like that. A little CD player down here. It is a Bose sound system. Nice touch of carbon fiber here. Moving over to the passenger side, again, not much is different. Besides, this is really soft touch. I'm actually very, very impressed. These little vents are, you know, a little cheap, but honestly, aesthetically, they look a little cheap, but they're pretty nice to turn and move. So these seats, so far, these seats have been amazingly comfortable. Now, if you did get a black edition, you would have Recaros in here, have like a little Recaro logo right there. And moving down to the front here, the center, you have your start stop button, gear selector, automatic, manual, and then of course 2 cup holders here, and a little bit of storage, nothing too crazy, and a little USB right there as well. So not a whole lot going on in this interior. And with that being said, let's get to driving. I'm pumped for this. All right, so jumping into the GTR here, right off the bat, something that's very interesting is, as soon as you start it up, this thing's a little clunky, like, and it's supposed to be that way. So if you're like me and you've never driven a GTR and you get into it and you're like, why is the front end making that much noise? Why can I hear like the transmission, or like, what is that sound? Is this broken? No, that is the way they were engineered. Nissan engineered this transmission to have quote unquote play in it, because it was designed for the track. I had read that online and I was like, there's no way a GTR can be clunky driving it around, but man, it really is. It really is clunky driving around town. One thing I do like though, and I know some people hate this, like, oh, my brakes are squeaking. Like, dude, you're in a performance car that is destroying Lamborghinis and Ferraris and everything for literally half the price. I think brake squeal is a badass thing. Like, I love when my brakes squeal, because to me, I'm like, that's race car stuff. Race cars' brakes squeal like crazy until they get up to temperature. So depending on what pads you have and stuff, you know, but I'm assuming these are still stock with only 13,000 miles. Your pads are gonna squeal and squeak a little bit. Just enjoy it. That's part of having a very high performance car. As part of ownership, and until they get heat built up into the brake pads and the rotors and things like that, they're gonna be squeaky. So just kind of deal with that. Everything about this car was engineered with tracking and performance in mind. Now, daily driving, this is fine. It's a little stiff, obviously, but it's not gonna break your back or anything. Let's go to comfort mode for the suspension. Comfort mode actually feels pretty good. It's definitely a little bit softer, I feel like. Let's go to race, hold it up. And let's see what this feels like. A little bit firmer, definitely firmer in race. If you are looking for a GTR, I think overall, it's really hard to find a car that can do it all. And when I say do it all, I mean, if you want this to be a daily driver, it can be a daily driver. If you want it to be a track car, it can be a track car. If you want it to be a drag car, you can get some crazy tunes for these, and engine builds and transmission builds, and these things will mop up, you know, in mile drags and things like that. Or if you want it to just be a show car, you can make these things even more gorgeous than they already are. I just think it's hard to find a car that can do all of those things, or a platform that can do all of those things. If you are looking at a GTR, I would definitely try to do a 2013 or newer. Not that there's necessarily anything wrong with a 2009, 2010, 2011. 2012, you do get that facelift. And then 2014, they did a pretty significant upgrade to the transmission to make it a little bit more beefy, as well as suspension. And like I said earlier in the video, every year they just fine-tune this chassis and the suspension and the motor and everything. But when you're looking at used GTRs, you know, this is $80-something thousand. I mean, that's an expensive car that's almost a decade old, but I think this still holds up. I'm just really interested to see how this handles some corners here. So let's go like this. This looks fairly sharp. We're not gonna go crazy, but turn in. Steering's a little heavy. I wasn't expecting the steering to be that heavy. Ooh, that sounds good. This DCT, this dual clutch transmission, shifts so smooth. Now, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I wish this was a manual. I think throwing a manual in this would ruin it, in my opinion. And to me, a DCT is technically still, it's okay. Technically, it is an automatic, I guess. But in my mind, I see it more as a manual transmission, because what a DCT does, and I'll try to do this in like the most simple terms that I can, you have all your gears lined up right, and they're chosen. So when you grab first gear, it's already pre-selecting second gear. So as soon as you click your paddle shifter, or when the computer says to switch, it's already grabbing that gear and engaging. That's why they change in milliseconds. Now let's go to manual mode here. So we're in second gear. Put the windows down a little bit here. Okay. That's a different experience. That feels, whoa. Fourth gear, let's get a little roll. There's not a lot of turbo lag. Not a lot of turbo lag at all, actually. Oh, this is, this is freaking sweet. Okay, confidence inspiring is what I could tell you. That was a pretty sharp hairpin corner, second gear. I don't know, 35 miles an hour, nothing too crazy again, since this car is for sale. But oh my Lord, the power coming out of this, when you just like roll into the throttle, like coming out of the corner. So think about if you're tracking your car, you're driving aggressively on the street. Ideally what you want to do, you want to get all your braking done before you enter the apex of the corner. And as you start exiting the corner, imagine your throttle foot and your elbows are connected. So as you start coming out of the turn and taking away the steering input, you're adding the equivalent amount of throttle in. That would be the proper way. You know, you see some people on YouTube, they overshoot their entry, they don't hit the apex, and they're driving like maniacs, making us all look bad. Oh, it shifts so smooth. Okay, that was maybe quarter throttle. Oh my gosh. This thing is freaking sick. For 80, I think this is for sale for 86,000. Brand new, it was 98, it's almost 10 years old. You know, at first I'm like, there's no way I could pay that much money for this, but honestly, I think it's justifiable. And one of the reasons why the used market is still so high and these are holding their value so well is because the newer GTRs, like, I think it's the Nismo Final Edition is like over $200,000. These cars have skyrocketed in MSRP since they've came out because it's such a versatile platform. Obviously, you want to find a car that isn't used and abused, which sometimes is really hard with GTRs. This is one of those rare ones. It has 2 owners, 13,476 miles. I doubt this thing was ever even launched. Like, this is the GTR that you're looking for, but this does come at that premium price tag of, I think $86,000 right now. So that is a lot to swallow, unfortunately. But, you know, we are in race mode right now, so it is a little rough. I'm trying to find a straight road here that's not so hilly and narrow to do a 0 to 60 for everyone here. Okay, I think I got one up here. I feel like sometimes you can get in some sports cars and the steering is like too light, like you can't feel what's going on, but this is steering input and it's changing directions like very quick. So let's see here. I cannot wait to do this 0 to 60. Third gear. Woo! That is, okay, that was just like rolling into it a little bit. Literally zero, and I mean zero lag. Like it just builds and builds and builds in a really good way. Obviously twin turbo V6, you shouldn't have a ton of turbo lag. One thing I do wish though is that these paddle shifters are connected to the steering column, not to the steering wheel. They are fairly large, like they're that big, but I wish, I can already tell just turning that corner right there, if you're on a track, it might be fairly easy to miss it. So I feel like if they were connected to the steering wheel, that would have been a little bit better of a design. That's just my opinion. You know, ride quality wise, we have it in R mode right now because I'm trying to find a road to do a 0 to 60. R mode, a little stiff, definitely to be expected, but when you go to comfort mode, it's actually really nice. And when you have the transmission in manual, it shifts nice and smooth, even though it sounds clunky, and when you are rolling to a stop, it kind of makes some noises here and there, and when you're turning and backing up, definitely makes some weird noises, but that's fine. This is freaking cool. The visibility out of here, the visibility is really, really good. I can see everything out of my rear view window, side, just everything. I got plenty of headroom. The seats are comfortable. I want one really bad. Okay. Okay. I see you. I see you. All right, taking a left. We're gonna dive in here a little bit. Oh my gosh, it's so flat and easy. Oh. I guess here's a 0 to 60, a rolling 60. Okay. Okay. Oh my gosh. Got a little slight curve here. It says to take it at 40. I'm going to take it at 70 with light steering input, fourth gear. It's nothing. You can, like, to find the limit of this car on public roads is like a death wish. Like straight to jail. Like no issues. You don't even have to know what you're doing in this car. It's just so confidence inspiring. All right, so I'm gonna do a 0 to 60 here. Let's just floor it and see what happens. Okay. Okay. Oh my gosh. I need one. I don't know if it's like my inner old school fanboy because I used to be obsessed with these cars. Oh my gosh. This is awesome. Oh, it's just like when you get on it, it's just so even keel throughout the power band. It's not like a lot of turbo lag or anything like that. It's very predictable. Like I don't feel any sense of like understeer or oversteer. You know, the WRX I reviewed a few years ago felt like it wanted to have some liftoff oversteer, which was kind of interesting. But this thing, it's just so predictable. Oh, that second gear. Oh. Okay. Woo, second gear pulls hard. So I did take the GT350 down here. I drove it down here to review this GTR because I felt like it was a very fair comparison. Ride quality, I feel like they're fairly similar. This is definitely harsher in its performance mode by far, but comfort mode, feel like GT350 probably has a little bit of a leg up there. The one thing I will say, obviously performance-wise, in my opinion, as much as I love the GT350, this is not even close, guys. It's really not. If you're looking at a GT350 or a Nissan GTR, I'm probably leaning towards a GTR if you have that extra money. But the one thing the GT350 has over this is the engagement factor. And I think it's a combination of obviously having the manual, but also the exhaust sound out of the GT350 is just so good. even with that being said, ooh, I don't know which one I would choose. I don't know, because there's something about driving the GT350 and rev matching it when you're coming into like town or just trying to clip an apex perfectly. Like you have to be a little bit more engaged with what's going on. And I feel like that's the only thing that would detract me from buying a GTR is it's so easy to drive. And on public roads like this, you're never gonna meet the limits of it. Like, you're just not. But overall, I mean, when I think about driving, both of them bring a smile to your face. And I don't know which one I have a bigger smile with. I have a pretty big smile with this one. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed my thoughts and my reaction to this GTR. If you're like me and you're kind of starting to get into the market for one, I would definitely go test drive one. Just expect right now, with the way everything is, to pay that higher price tag because of the way the market is. But yeah, that's it for now. I appreciate you guys checking out the video. And hey, if you haven't already, please go ahead, hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to get to that 1,000 subscribers. Follow Carsideration on Instagram. The more followers I can get, the more cool cars I can get my hands on. It's hard to go to a dealership or an owner and be like, I don't have any views. So I appreciate it. And until next time, stay safe.